It's the Awake Space Podcast, and I'm Lori Rivers, your host, here to help you with some inspiration to get those aspirations out into the world. And you know I record on Sundays, right? I'm leaving on Tuesday. Gonna be an amazing work trip. I'm going to meet up with my daughter and we are going to record like the wind in London. We're gonna do some day trips in between. Got to get that B-roll right. Um, One of the things I've been trying to teach over the last 5, 6 years is when we're doing things that enliven us, good things happen. And we can integrate our work and our play and create meaningful work. I'm feeling really good today. I've been telling people for 6 years we need to collectivize. Not collectivize in the burn it all down kind of way. Like when people hear collectivism, they're like, they think of the Russian Revolution. They think of, the Chinese cultural revolution, all those things. No, no, no. But if there's things we want to see in the world, maybe if we each get in and pitch in a little bit and we run things like a cooperative. If you go to a grocery co-op, guess what? That's collectivism. Go to the farmers co-op. That's collectivism. I have never understood how farmers can be so afraid of communism when they have co-ops, because that's all it is. People have conflated political systems with economics, and political systems and economic systems are not the same thing. Just like people keep talking about capitalism is the problem. We haven't had capitalism in years. And you're like, Lori, I didn't tune into a spiritual podcast for this. Well, may I quote the Pope? Everything is politics. What we've also conflated the difference between partisanship and politics. Politics is how people negotiate, come together, and run things as a group. Partisanship is belonging to a team. It's belonging to this party or that party, and it's where an identity forms, and it's like sectarianism because people begin to believe who's the good guys, who's the bad guys. These people are like-minded, which is why I never tell you the Awake Space community is like-minded. That just gets into, and I'm being polite because I'm sure children are listening, but that just gets into this nodding of heads, and everybody's like, yeah, we want change. But nobody's defined the change. Nobody's defined the words, right? You're just coming in like a hive mind, right? Versus coming from the heart. You might have very different ideas about how things need to be done, but you know something needs to be done. If you're coming from a heart center, then you're able to listen and not have cognitive bias. And you're able to negotiate and come to a middle ground, because there isn't just one right way to do anything. So if we come from the heart space, and I'm not saying, give peas a chance. I'm saying it's an old joke. If you're young, you may not have gotten that one. It's okay. I am displaying my agedness. But when we come together and we say, this thing is out of balance, let's bring it back to balance. You can't do that by my way is the right way. No, my way is the right way. And anybody who doesn't believe like me, they're the bad guy. You're like, but you're an astrologer. What do you know? To be a good astrologer, you need to be a polymath. And that means you specialize in more than one subject. I have some good news, and that's why I'm talking about this. One of our members in the Awake Space is down in the Lone Star State and reported that in their city, which is a small city, they were able to keep the people they didn't want in office out. They managed to hold the school board and the city council. Now, if you've been listening to me since 2021, I've been telling you, you got to organize, you got to be involved, you got to show up at town meetings, you've got to show up for school board meetings, and not just show up, participate, run for office, or support other people running for office. Doesn't matter if you like apple pie and they like blueberry pie. If you believe that kids deserve to eat at school, if you believe that kids need a decent education that isn't mired in dogma, then you show up. And if you don't care, then go to something you do care about. in oh gosh, it might have been almost 20 years ago now. In the area I lived in, Northwest Washington, Walmart wanted to put in another store, but we had a super Walmart down, 45 minutes away south and another one about 35 minutes north. There was no reason to push our local businesses out of business. We had 3 grocery stores. We had multiple hardware stores, and we had a lot of little boutiques. It wasn't a big area. On the island, there was like 20,000 people on a good day, and in town, there was like 8,000 people. We knew who owned the businesses. These were our neighbors. You had everything from the most conservative of conservative people and the most hippy dippy people who might have been on the left. They might have just been independents. Everybody showed up at the planning meetings to keep them out. And I'm very proud to say we kept Walmart out of that area. We wanted our small businesses to stay in business. And it was challenging times. This was in the mid 2000s during the Great Recession, right? Before 2008, because 2008 is when it hit people with money. Before it hit people with money, and it hit the working class, the canaries in the coal mine, right? You can be involved. Your local government is your last stand. It is what protects you. You can't make any rules that supersede federal law, but you sure as hell can interpret them. And you can keep your community's water as safe as possible. You can keep your school district in shape, right? You can make sure that you pay attention to who is sheriff. Most sheriffs are elected. So if you want better law enforcement, you need to find candidates you can support. Those are all important things. And I'm talking about that because nothing is separate. If you don't believe you have power in your own life, and you don't believe you have power in your community, how do you think you're going to find enlightenment? Because it's understanding your power. And we talked a little bit about that last week. Instead of being despondent, find something, anything you could do. You could sign postcards for somebody. You could go pick up trash. I've been telling people to do that for a long time. If it's polluted around where you live, safely pick things up. Doesn't matter that it's not your job. Doesn't matter that you didn't throw that wrapper out of the car. Pick it up. Give a hoot. Don't pollute. If you've heard about the Spirit Airlines situation, most people used to rag on Spirit Airlines, but they had a perfect safety record. Not one fatality, accident in all the time they were flying. And someone who was interested in airplanes said, let's buy it. And now their website has crashed because so many people have been interested in pledging support for that. That's collectivism. We want this thing enough, we're going to put our money where our mouth is. And if enough people come together, it doesn't take millions of dollars by an individual. It takes 5, it takes 20, it could be 30, 100. And if enough people come together, they can open a store. If enough people come together, they can help out a local farm and support a local farm. I'm not talking about a giant, 100,000 acre enterprise. I'm talking about somebody with a hobby farm who wants to make sure everybody gets cucumbers and tomatoes and onions. It could also be you all decide to grow a little victory garden and you have a collective table out where people, anyone, can just come get food. Take food for yourself, put the extra on the table. I used to belong to a spiritual community. We did that. We called it the Aloha table. And let me tell you, there was often a lot of zucchini there. Anyway, I'm on a roll today because I'm leaving on a jet plane. And what about the jet fuel? I don't know if I get stuck there. I can still stream. I can. I might have to eat beans on toast, but I could still do my job. my hope would be I'd get stuck in France so I can have baguettes and stinky cheese. Anyway, I hope you're getting fired up too. If you haven't felt into the energy and you know how, do you not feel that the tide is turning? It's not going to fix it overnight. It's not going to make great sweeping changes, but hope is in front of us. So get your tea, get your coffee, get your Red Bull, get your matcha, get your H2O. And whether we're driving to work, whether we're packing a suitcase, doing our laundry, taking a shower, I like it when I'm in a good mood today, and I hope you are too. Let's get this day done together. Can you feel the shift? The energy is shifting just a little bit. That Uranus and Gemini is like kind of clearing the clouds that we had because Uranus in Taurus was shaking up the ground and all that dust in the air. Oh my Lord. It doesn't mean crappy things won't happen. We can't really blame the planets anyway, because I mean, we say so facetiously, but they're not causing this. We're causing this. We cause it. You can say, no, those bad guys are causing it. Nah, we're all causing it. Whether it's through inaction, feeling like we're not big enough, not strong enough, not willing to go meet our neighbors, you know, and maybe we don't like our neighbors. Maybe we have to go a couple blocks down. Maybe we need to go to a different side of town to meet people we're going to get along with. But yeah, it's not the planets. The planets reflect the potential of the consciousness being expressed on the planet. And it's up to us to manage our consciousness, because it does not take a majority to shift the energy. It doesn't take a majority to shift the energy. It takes a small group of people who can align in frequency to make an influence. Now, it doesn't, magically change timelines. I know people are like, it magically changes timelines. No, it doesn't. It's slow. It's incremental. It can be faster than we think it'll be, but it's never an instant thing. But you can see as this tide shifts, we're actually resonating in a little different way. We have a little potential to collectively shift our attention. And speaking of collectively, look at what's going on with this push to buy Spirit Airlines. It started as kind of a joke and kind of a desire, and it was light. Nobody was holding on to it heavy. Everybody was like, yeah, sure, I'll pledge. And the website crashed, and that's cool. I've been talking about this time period for a long time here on the podcast. And one of the things I've been saying is we need to get more collective. It is not communism in the way people think of communism. People have been misusing words. I feel like Inigo Montoya from Princess Bride. You keep using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means. Communism is not what collective action is. It was mentioned in the Communist Manifesto by Marx, which even a lot of leftists haven't read, because I can tell by the way they talk about things. I'm like, you haven't read it. I know you haven't read it. I know you haven't read it, because never once did he say, don't make money. He was saying, if there is a profit-making enterprise, the people who do the work deserve a stake of the profit. It's not really a hard concept. But also, the people who are working need to get together to purchase things, have employee-owned operations, have cooperatives. Well, the thing that gets me is farmers especially can be very, very conservative. Not all of them, okay? But they can be like, communism's bad. And then they go to the farmers co-op, and I'm like, that's a collective. It's a farmers co-op. You're a member of it. It's member owned. That's communism. Anyway, as I said in the beginning, nothing is without politics and nothing's without economics. You can hate capitalism all you want, but it's been dead for a long time. We have monopolies, oligarchies. That's not part of it. It's not part of it. not part of it. But when the people understand their power, and we are with Pluto and Aquarius, and it can be people power, it can also be authoritarianism. It can also be forced conformity. And if you've been listening to me, what was I warning about? And I was just as concerned because we've so divided and polarized in this country to left and right. And by the way, nobody's meeting any of the actual definitions. And I'm telling you this as somebody who is trained as a political analyst. Nobody's using anything right. I try not to even listen to people talk about it anymore because it drives me crazy. But there's no reason to be partisan. No reason. So with Pluto, I was worried about forced conformity from any side because they were shutting down people having conversations, whether it's Democrats, whether it's Republicans, whether it's Green Party, whether it's Democratic Socialists, whatever. There is this lack of discourse. And it's like you can't talk about these things. They're outside of our narrative and we can't control that. That's a problem. So again, I will always be political. I couldn't give 2 rubs of 2 quarters. See, I caught myself. I don't give 2 rubs of 2 quarters about the actual parties. And the reason, they're beholden to the same interests. Go to opensecrets.org. Look at where people are getting their money from. It's been around for a long time. You can look up what your candidates are getting and where their money's coming from. And you will notice, oh, look, this one got it from Boeing and this one got it from Boeing. This one got it from AT&T and this one got it from AT&T. Oh, look, they're playing both sides because all those corporations want is influence. And that's where you guys should be like, where can we influence? And I got great news. I think I talked about it in the opening. But one of our members, Becca Lynn, was talking about in her area, they managed to keep the people they didn't want off the school board, off the town council. And it was a close race, but people organized. And when we look at collectivism, it's about organization coming from like-heartedness. Okay. We got Pluto and Aquarius. We got Uranus and Gemini, and they're really kind of doing a tango right now. Uranus is in an approaching trine to Pluto, which is pretty cool. And it's all about shaking up that energy, shaking up how we think. Because people just repeat the same old oppressive memes. I'm just one person. What can I do? A lot. One person can do a lot. Ask me how. The magazine will come out soon. I'm almost done, but I got your predictions and your horoscopes up, okay? Go check the Patreon. Go check the awakespacepodcast.com. The horoscopes are up. They're giving you your marching orders. You can do a lot, and you can do what you can. If you can't do a lot, you can do a little well, right? We all have limitations. We're physical beings. We're physical beings. We are spirit-made matter. We are spiritualizing the material. Not the other way around. I'm excited that people are seeing that if we each pull in a little bit, we can build something magnificent. And that means we also need to do that at our local and state level politically, because they keep talking about the federal level. But guess who takes the cases to the Supreme Court and erodes any legislation? We just saw this last week. If you do not get involved and band together, and I'm not talking about chanting in a rotunda, that's one form. That's one form. But you can write legislation and find someone to sponsor it. Did you know, actually, at the state level, representatives don't cost much? That would be unethical. Yeah. They don't care about ethics. They don't care about your groundwater. They don't care about your air quality. They care about what they're getting. And that's not always at the state level. You got good people at the state level. But some of them aren't, depending on what what state you're in, or Louisiana, what state you're in. What state you're in. State reps are cheap. Just saying. Pull together, buy one. Or better yet, become one. Run for office. If not this year, in 2 years. Build your base. Build your base. Oh, she's on one. Lori, I came here to listen to spiritual things. You will. Listen to the end. We'll talk about resistance. By the way, if this is bothering you, pay attention to what part of your body is getting tense, okay? Because we'll talk about that later, okay? I hope it's not your butt cheeks. But if it is your butt cheeks, we'll talk about that too. I'm excited because I get to go to London. And I think on the flight, I'm going to bring one of the French books that I was sent by Nina. And I'm going to make flashcards if I can't sleep. Hopefully I can sleep because I'm very sleep deprived, which is also why I'm silly. But you guys can follow along on my French vocabulary improvement when it comes to astrology. I love that I can read the books and understand them because you require context to understand language. I'm not reading the French books to be better at astrology, although every language has nuance. And when you speak other languages, you actually can have a personality change between the languages. That's a psychological fact. And I realized as I was reading in French, and I would, first of all, I had to get over being really excited I could still do it because it's been a while. And I was fluent, but don't use it, you lose it, right? So I'm like, oh, I haven't lost all of it. That's cool, you know. And so as I was reading, I realized just the way the verbs are conjugated, the gendered nouns and pronouns and all of that in the language, because French is a very gendered language. The way things are described provoked insight, because there's always something you can learn. I don't care that I'm a master astrologer. There's always something new I can gain. It might not be a lot of technique anymore. It may be an exploration and understanding of how to communicate it. And the French is giving me, I can't even put words to how it changed my understanding of things, because it's not profound. It's just maybe when I speak in French, I'm more poetic, so it gave more artistry. I have the accuracy, and here's a little bit of the artistry. It's a little softer. It's a little different understanding of the energy. It's not different, and I interpret a lot more and do astrology a lot more like the British or the people on the continent, because Americans do it a little bit differently here because of who my teachers were in the beginning, right? So it's very fascinating. So I'll take you on that journey when I'm off to parts unknown. What am I going to do first? I can almost hear you. What are you going to do first? I actually have high tea scheduled for Sarah and I. We haven't seen each other in 2 years. We need to get this done. This is the best way to get it done and see each other at the same time. And so we're going to have high tea the day after I arrive. How fun is that? How fun is that? Which is why I have to get my nails done tomorrow. Because I was like, oh, I'll skip doing my nails. And I was like, no, I can't skip my nails. I'm doing tea. Because there's a nail place near where we're staying, but I probably won't be able to get in on time. So with a million things and 12 billion tea others to do tomorrow, I will sit down and get my hands done. But anywho, crazy days. So much to do, so little time. I'm having to drop a few balls to make this happen. I'm like, okay, I can do this or I can do this. So we'll get the magazine finished up and we'll have that out probably by next weekend. Jessica's on it as the editor. Your predictions and your horoscopes are indeed up. Make sure you don't worry about grammar or anything. Jessica actually edits those for the magazines. Those are unedited and fresh. They're your sneak peek, and they're just to keep you satiated while we're finishing up. Sarah and I have some ideas for making that easier on me, and we're gonna sit down and plan. We kind of need to sit down together to do it. We're always planning on the phone and things, but I think if we just sit down and eat some stinky cheese, we'll get everything figured out. All right, it's time for some community news. You can check that out. And then after that, I'll be talking about resistance and how to deal with it and when things are bypassing and when it's not. And then people were asking me questions like, if what is the one piece of advice I would give the world if people could listen? And I'm like, I do a podcast. I do that every week, but I will think of something profound to say because I just shout into the ether. Like, I'm always excited when you guys drop me comments because I don't know where this is landing or who it's landing to. I'm just talking into a mic in my little studio with my little Buddha and my little Buddha dog. My mom painted that for me. I've got another one, but it's like behind me. And then, Bertha the bear, the skull up there. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wait, there's the other one. That's a little bunny Buddha. The bunny Buddha my mom painted for me, too. Such a Cancerian. But anyway, um, yeah, I'll answer some questions at the end. And I think you guys will, if you don't learn a lot, you'll learn a lot about my perspective. And maybe that's worth fart gas. I don't know. You got to know your own perspective. Alrighty, let's check out what's happening in the awake space in May. All right, what's up in May at the awake space? Well, I'm traveling, and that doesn't mean things aren't happening. Just I'm not sure what days or what times or where I'll be because I'm a little tired already. But my daughter and I are going to go live together a bunch, both on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. We'll probably multi-stream and in the Patreon. I will be doing our natal aspects class with Saturn, talking about Saturn. And then I think I'll round it up with Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto kind of in one class because it's always the faster planet that makes the aspect. So we'll probably do two more of those and then we'll go back to doing Q&As because there's so much material in Astrology Crew. And yeah. Let's see, what else do we got going on? I always forget. Besides the live streams, I didn't go as live as much in April because I was teaching and I was doing a lot of readings. It's just there's only so much time in the day, and so we'll probably be doing more teaching. Oh, I remember Matilda and I, May 17th. May 17th. We're doing charts and channeling. It's $50. It's $50 for at least 3 hours of of astrology and psychic mediumship, where we dial into June, July, and August of 2026. We both have our separate year aheads, but when we come together, man, it's like a fire hose. It's crazy. We just nail things. You can see clips of our October event last year where we got everything from glacial melt to, ski resorts to rising sea levels that weren't expected, things like that. These are not no-brainers. Well, everybody knows that. No, you didn't. No, you didn't, or the scientists wouldn't have been surprised. But anyway, so we're doing that May 17th. There's still time to sign up. Please check the show notes. And we are not giving discounts this time. We gave early access for the tickets to our supporters because we are 100% listener supported, both of us. I'm really proud that we are 100% listener supported. No ads, no sponsors. We are 100% independent, which is why I get to be a chaos goblin. Thank you. Love you. What else is going on? Oh, patrons. This week I'm going to release your discount for 2027's preparation and predictions. And everybody who signs up for that, whether you're a supporting member or not, that's the discount depending on where you're at. My upper tiers got theirs at 50% off. Um, You'll find out what yours is when I release it to the hounds. Release the hounds. When I release the discount this week for our other supporting tiers, everybody, regardless of what you're paying, gets the 2027 astrological planner thanks to Alicia the Cynical or the Diabolical or the Vampire. I don't know. She's Alicia and then she decides who she's going to be. Anyway, much love to you, my gal. Watch the refritos in the office. Anyway, but thanks to her asking. And I said, no, I don't have time to do one more thing, but actually I do. So we're going to have that go out. So once the event is over later that week, everybody will get access to streaming the original recording and the Q&A, and only people who sign up for that event get the Q&A. I never put that out to the public. Like, that's your special, like, goodie. And then you'll also get, as part of your ticket, you'll get the planner. Will the planner be available to the public? Yeah, it will in the fall. You'll be able to get that as a print-on-demand planner. But the PDF version, the digital version, will go out to everybody who signs up, and you'll get, first access to the print on demand. I can't include that in the ticket. It's just not gonna, it doesn't financially work out, but you'll get first dibs on the physical one. So if you want to sign up, check out the link in the show notes. Oh, well, we had some new people join today, and I'm going to put out a new member offer. I haven't decided what it's going to be. I don't know if I'll even have it done before I fly out, because I have a 2-hour drive to get to the airport. It's not even in the same state. Yeah. And I'm facing a fear, which is Denver. I have avoided Denver's airport, oh my God, for 40 years of flying. And I'm finally having to fly through there. So wish me luck and Godspeed. Let's go here. All right, here's our newest supporters. Jasmine, Unbothered Hand, Joey, Leslie, Shira, Amelia, Mary, Deborah, Jen, Sarah, or Sarah, Katie, Beautiful Scars, Lydia, Jen, Hippie Mystic, Wendy, Amanda, Joanna, or Joanna? Joanna? I think it's Joanna. We have a lot of Joannas, and we have so many people. If I butcher your name, let me know. Molly, April, Amanda, Denise, Ash, Inovid, Tiffany, Illyria, Debbie, Cora, Lucy, Annie, Gabriella, Shania, Kathy, Jackie, Kelsey, Annie, Claudia, Miranda, Jen, Lauren, Tara, Alicia, Olivia, Marie, Shay, Tori, Alexia, Brittany, Sherry, Karen, Amanda, Joyce S., Sue, Meredith, Sarah, Lilith, Jackie, Brandy, and Anna Carey. Big thank you for being supporters. There's 2,000 plus supporting members. I know you see that 7,300 number. That's all told, both Vibin, our free supporters, as well as our financially supporting patrons that help us stay ad-free, sponsorship-free, uncorruptible. We're not beholden to anybody else. And for that, I thank you. Alrighty. Let's talk about resistance. and the different forms it takes and how we can deal with it. And I have a couple other patron submitted questions. I asked everybody in the Q&A and magazine tier. That's in the Patreon chat. It says Q&A, magazine, etc. And you guys asked me some questions that I'll answer here on the podcast. One of those was about resistance, bypassing, etc. And we'll answer that one first, and then we'll answer some of the other ones as well. So we have over 2,000 paying members, and we have over 5,000 free members. And I know. I try to go live at least once a month for all patrons. There's some glitches in there. I might try streaming in. There's a little difference between me picking up my phone and using the app, and if I use the streaming key, like I have softwares, and it might make a difference. We'll see. I know sometimes people get frustrated because things get glitchy, but Patreon's working as fast as they can. I'll put that form out again in the Patreon that you can fill out and let people know if you've been able to have access, if you've had any glitches, because my account, she's not really an account manager, but she's like my liaison with Patreon. She will, if you're having problems, she will directly put your account in for help to get it fixed. Okay. Why? Because I'm an ambassador. I help make cool things happen with Patreon. So there we go. Alrighty. So I asked, what are your questions this week? Recording the podcast tomorrow, so hit me. And here we go. All right. Let's see. Soul Music asks, or says, and this is long, so hold with me. Curious about bypassing. Like I'm pretty resilient and have equally strong tendencies to ruminate with my rising moon Virgo Pisces axis, but also so much fire in my solar and inner planets that I can just burn it down and be planting my garden the day after while everyone else is wondering how to process what happened. Is there a cognitive frame, a sensory or discernment process that can help me fine tune when we're supposed to take our time or hang on when it's okay to flip our awareness? I suppose the nuance in my question delves into the metaphysics and esoteric interpretation, coming from seeing how sometimes when I move into aligned action, I always want to get upset with myself for holding on to situations, people, relationships, and stories that were long done. This also leads to wondering about bypassing, backlash, whiplash we can sometimes experience if we're emotionally and spiritually bypassing, where just telling ourselves to focus on positive things can make a situation reoccur. Saul is a deeply thoughtful person. Okay, so I stopped that question. So, first of all, understanding the range in which your placements can express as I teach the 3 layers of consciousness. Okay, we have our instinctual, we have our transactional or social, that's our social cultural program. Then we have our deliberate, which is deconstructed and renovated consciousness, making deliberate choices, not a knee jerk reaction, not a socially expected reaction, but really tuning in and saying, how do I want to react? And you can choose to be angry. You can have a deliberate consciousness of an instinctual feeling, right? That person insulted me. Do I want to be mad about it? Well, first ask myself, how do I feel about it? How do I feel about it? Am I actually angry about it? Do I want to be angry about it? Would it be fun to be angry about it? What would I get out of being angry about it? This is where you get to make a choice. And the more you practice, the better you get at it. It's not about whether it's good or bad. Alignment isn't about being good or bad. Some of the very best manifestors on the planet are assholes because it's not about being morally good. It is about being aligned, and alignment is as simple as if you drive a car, You get your tires aligned. They're straight. Once you get your tires aligned, have you ever done this? You go to the garage, you get the tires aligned, and then you go drive and you take your hands off the steering wheel because it can go straight. Just me? No, it's not just me because my dad does it too. Only now he has a self-driving car. It's it's a little concerning to me. But when you're in alignment, it just means it's all lined up. What you want and your ability to be receptive are not askew. You don't go, wow, I'd really love to own a restaurant one day, and then think, oh, but restaurants go out of business really fast because they have a lot of overhead. Whereas I'd really love to own a business. I wonder, like, I think I want to own a restaurant. I wonder what would be a different way to do it so I minimize my risk. Oh, that's a little more aligned. I know I'm risk averse, but there's ways to make that less scary. See? You can have alignment. If you're listening to this, you're like, what the hell is she doing on camera? And so let's tear it apart. First of all, don't over intellectualize your placements. That's not part of the game. Let's say you have a Pisces moon. Okay. A Pisces moon has a spectrum of expression. What's more important than intellectualizing it is understanding the physical sensations in the body when you are in instinctual consciousness, when you are in social consciousness or transactional consciousness, and when you're in deliberate consciousness. When I'm in instinctual consciousness, there's a constriction, there's muscle tension, my vision might change. And instinctual can be anything that really focuses on our survival. It's not thinking. It's when our amygdala is driving the show. Okay. So we could have a spike of fear, a spike of anger, a spike of libido. That's right. Libido. Maybe we just are running body to body. That's instinctual. That's instinctual. And then there's the transactional, which is the social cultural programming, which I like to think of as kind of like high level instinctual. And none of these are, we're not grading papers here. This isn't instinctual is fail. Transactional is average. Deliberate is exceptional and exceeds expectations. That's not it. It's just one feels better than the other one. One gives you more agency, and you can do what seemed impossible to you. Because when you're deliberate, you see more options. And you'd be like, wow, that looks really cool. I don't know how to do that. I wonder what it takes to learn that. I'm going to Google that. That's a deliberate action. And it can also be deliberate to be like, screw that. I don't like doing that. I don't want to do that. I know everybody else wants me to. Social. I don't want to. Period. I'm not going to do it. That's fine. And you can feel free in that. Not everything is going to be comfortable. The goal of spirituality is not to feel good every second of the day. We are so afraid of pain in our society. We are so afraid of discomfort in our society that we will sit in a pile of steaming shit in our lives because we fear the discomfort of the unknown. Ask me how I know. I've done it. Everybody's afraid of change. Everybody is afraid of doing it differently. Everybody asks, what if it doesn't work? What if it does? We stay in relationships that are past our prime. We stay in jobs that are past our primes. We stay in houses that are past our prime. Because we don't know what's next. What does it look like next? I had a lot of that in readings this week, and I'm not judging. A lot. Because there were a lot of people asking me, and Do not go from not reading for a couple months into a full schedule. I just want you to know that. Don't do that in any discipline. Can you do it? Yes. Do you want to? No. It makes your brain very tired. But anyway, um there was I would say you need to trust the process. This is what's up on deck. You need to just trust to take the next step. And they're like, "Yeah, but I just wonder what it turns out like." And I'm like, you're not going to know right now. You just need to take the step. You're not going to know. And trying to arrange all the conditions is attaching to the outcome. And so I'd do a little gimme and I'd be like, well, the way you will be successful is just taking it a step at a time. You want to take this as a process. It will help to know what kind of outcome you would like to see, but don't over detail it. Can you tell I had a lot of Virgo Mercuries this week? It's always fun to see what's up on deck. I'm like, oh, they're getting squared by the Uranus and Gemini. It was early Virgo Mercuries. So you're not going to know it all before you start. You can have an idea. Like I wanted to be a support in a world I knew was drastically changing. That is the only reason I decided to talk about astrology, on woke astrology, and in this podcast, and on the Tiki Talkie. And I didn't even start on TikTok to do that. I went to protest wanting to ban that app because I believe in free speech. Um, and then I was like, oh, wow, I only need 1,000 people and I can talk about astrology and maybe help the people who are attracted to what I do. That's cool. Well, let's see. It might take me a year, but I'll try it. Everything blew up. Why? I wasn't holding on. I wasn't trying. I wasn't forcing my agenda. Like people found it. They liked it. They joined. They didn't like it. They said, fuck you. They moved. Right? Right. That's simple. When you let go of the outcome, whether it's relationship, you don't have to know the how, right? You hear that in business all the time. You don't need to know the how, you need to know the what, you need to know the where, right? Where am I going? What do I want? How figures itself out over time. It's not great to invest a ton of money when you don't have clarity. If you're foggy, maybe it's time to invest some time into learning some skills. Like, what do I know how to do? What do I need to learn? Well, you'll find out some of that along the way, but you might know right now that, well, I'm not very good at this, this, and this. Great. Well, where can I learn those skills? Instead of like, well, I don't know, I'm going to quit. That's all resistance and it's all oppressive thinking. So back to soul music, you don't want to over intellectualize it. It's too easy. When you are in alignment, and if you are aligned in a spiritual way, like, so if you're aligned to your higher guidance, your soul, yourself, there's no judgment to be had. It is, I did what I did. I learned what I learned. This will be valuable in some way. That's it. Move on. When we're aligned in a more transactional way, which we can, because it's not that our spirit or our soul is ever disconnected. We're not. It's our ability to tune to it. It is already here. Our guidance is always around. No one is judging you but you. The three ghosts that came to Ebenezer Scrooge were apparitions of his own soul. I know. May not be a literary interpretation, but it is definitely a metaphysical interpretation. It's all us. It's all us. It's all us. It's all us. So, what do? You line in. You're like, okay, I feel hurt. You have to be, you can't do anything about anybody else's experience except your own. Because if you manage your own, you're not going to be a dick to other people. Oh, sorry. When my son's birthday is coming up in June, and when he was a teenager, he'll be 30. When he was a teenager, and he was easy, okay? He was just easy. But he was getting grumpy for him, okay? Not anybody else, but just for him. And I would be like, just because you have one doesn't mean you need to be one. And he went, what? And I'm like, think about it. And he's got 5 personal planets in Gemini. Innuendo did not go over his head. He'd be like, "Oh, hey, mom, but just because you have one doesn't mean you need to be one." Um, 5D's nuts, but when it comes to bypassing, speaking of 5D's nuts, it is the abnegation of responsibility. It's like, well, I meditated, I prayed, I wrote these things down, you know, while not looking at all of the things you need to do or taking accountability. You see a lot of times, like, people will say, and you can see this in any message board, it doesn't matter. If somebody be like, well, I would never do that. They, in fact, have done that. Yeah. I would never, and even if you never did those things, whatever it is, like, well, I would never be so rude to my mother-in-law, or I would never send my child with just bologna and cheese in their sandwich box or whatever. And maybe you wouldn't. But are you doing that because it's a core belief, or are you doing that because you're afraid of what people are going to think about you? Is it about the social conditioning? There's so many variables. And when it comes to astrology, and it is the esoteric, because the esoteric and the exoteric work hand in hand. We are spiritualizing matter. Spirit actually does give a fuck about what we do on this planet because it informs our physical experience, that informs the universe. But it's not sitting in judgment. It's like, oh, they'll get it eventually. The volume will get turned up until they can actually hear. Yeah, they keep poisoning their water supply. Enough of them die. They'll figure it out. Oh, they haven't yet. Well, dial up the volume some more. It's not punishment. It's about awareness. Some of the best manifestors on the planet are assholes because they are able to hold their consciousness. Consciousness is not good. Consciousness is. The moralizing is our definition of it. But they can hold steady. They can hold their focus. Sometimes they use a lot of drugs to do it, but they still can. Because it's not about good and bad. That is part of oppression. It's mental and spiritual oppression to believe. I've told you over and over and over, one of your greatest shadows is virtue. If people think I'm really good, I'll be safe. I won't go to hell. I won't be called a bad girl. I won't be shamed and blamed and victimized. Right? We don't want to see that. Right? Shamed and blamed and victimized. So if I'm good and I stay on the narrow path, if I support these people that have power and I toe the line, I'll be safe. No judgment. Because there's no thinking involved in this process. If you ask people, they wouldn't be consciously aware of that's why they do what they do. It is a program ingrained from infancy and generational. That's why in the work and the ANI process, which I'm retooling in London, with my daughter who grew up with all of this, and we're going to make it more fun. I don't think it's fun enough. I get very serious because I build the mechanism. I'm kind of like that crazy inventor and the absent-minded professor. And so it's making, get it to work. Once I get it to work, then we can do what we want with the piece of mechanism. So, Josh, soul music. It doesn't have to be a big deal. Beating yourself up is just a form of oppression. You learned. What did you learn? What did you learn? I'll look back at the question and see if I can give a shorter answer. Because people, if you're as lost as I am, well, we'll be lost together. Resiliency is the ability to bounce back after challenging circumstances. Holding your consciousness plays a role in that. But there are 7, and this is from H. Stephen Glenn, PhD's work that he started in the 1960s, and I was lucky enough to be mentored and trained by him. So, resiliency has 7 factors to it, and there are 3 concepts and 4 skills that if you have a low score in any of them, it reduces resiliency. But the great news is those 3 perceptions and 4 skills can be inoculated or learned. So you're never wholly screwed, guys. So the 3 principles: I am capable, I have significance, meaning I matter, and I have influence and influence over my own life, right? So I matter, I have influence over my life and what happens to me. Some people call that the locus of control, right? And I am capable. Like, even if I don't know stuff, I'm capable of learning or capable of finding somebody who does. Okay? That's it. That's what those concepts mean. And then the 4 skills that are being built, which I am constantly teaching: interpersonal skills. That's you and me having a conversation. Intrapersonal skills, my relationship with myself, my inner narrative. 3rd skill is systemic. And I think this one is probably one of the most important to understand, because if you don't understand the systems you're working with, and whether it's an internal system or an external system, you cannot succeed until you learn the system. So for a lot of parents, like, education has changed, right? Like, since you have a kid, you're in your 20s or 30s, and you go to enroll your toddler into whatever program, and things have changed. When my kids started going to college, I did not understand the FAFSA because it was not the same in 1987. It was a whole new world. A whole new world. So if you don't know the system, you can't work the system. There are tons of loopholes in the tax codes. The people who have a lot of money can hire the experts to find the loopholes. You might qualify for some of those loopholes, but you're not an expert and you got to learn it. You have a choice: save up your money, hire an expert, or find somebody who's an expert who likes to help the little guy, or 3, learn the loopholes. Right? Systemic skills. It can be that simple. Not everything has to be a deep interior dive. I am a very profound person. I'm not a shallow mud puddle. The most important thing I've learned in the last 20 years is yes, it is that deep and you don't have to dive. Yes, it is that deep and you don't have to dive. Is this helping you thrive, or is it ceasing oxygen from going to your brain? Yes, it is that deep and you do not have to dive. Dive into what helps you thrive. If you're deep diving to find a pearl, great. Don't get the bends on the way up. 4th skill, judgmental, the ability to make decisions. If you've never been taught how to make decisions that benefit you, and you have only learned how to make decisions that are punitive or get you in trouble, and you think, screw it, doesn't matter anyway, you're hosed. Learning how to make good decisions, which are things I teach every single day. Knowing how to make decisions that are right for you or that benefit you. Sometimes you have to hang on to shitty relationships for a heartbeat because it benefits you in some way. And you'd be like, that's mercenary. No, that's life. That's life. Sometimes you got to stay in a job with a shitty boss until you can get a better job. It doesn't mean you will always be in that shitty job, but being jobless is a worse outcome. So you stay in relationship. Relationship doesn't mean love. It means you're having to interact. I know. Am I on one today or what? I must be excited. All right. You guys are coming with me though. Cool stuff. So I hope that worked out. Soul, thank you for giving me the opportunity to teach. If you are bypassing, now here's something interesting. While I was developing what is now called The Work by Lori Rivers and the ANI process, which I think I'm going to change all of that. But anyway, We might just call it Annie after Granny Annie, my dear friend, who was 30 years older than me, and we talked about drugs, sex, and rock and roll. We might just do it that way. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, uh, one of the things when I was developing that process as a coach, I had clients that were testing with me, and I'd be able to build them up, get them their resonance moving a little faster, get into a more, I hate to say elevated because we're judging at that point, but getting them into a more positive state. Let's put it that way. Just a positive state, not high vibing all the way. Sometimes they would, and they'd be like, woo. And within hours, they'd crash because they didn't have the mechanism to hold that consciousness steady. It's like, that's why I talk about scaffolding, right? And so they'd bounce like a rubber band. They'd be like, they were building the tools to elevate, but they had no tools to stay steady. And I was feeling terrible because I was like, oh man, I have contributed to this. I better figure out some other mechanisms. And that's why I created scaffolding to go with it, because when we overvibe, when we fly too close to the sun, and kind of think of like Robin Williams, okay, my birthday twin. We have some interesting similarities, but a lot different. Besides me being a Goyle and younger, but he spun high, and then he could get very serious. It's. I imagine there was a discomfort in his inside of him. There was a struggle inside of him because he'd zing, and he could feel all of connection, and then poof, back into the body. And I see him as kind of like a forerunner in consciousness. There are rafts of souls that incarnate. They can even incarnate in multiple bodies. It's your soul is not just your soul attached to your personality. Your personality is your personality, and the soul, especially if you look at the work by Seth Speaks, by Jane. I can't remember her last name. Anyway, the book Seth Speaks came out in the 70s. And it talks about the oversoul and how that kind of then splits up. But we're all part of the same thing. Okay. And to me, that makes as much sense as anything else, because no one has all the real answers until it's been empirically studied. Right. But he would ping up and down. So one of the things that's really important is understanding your physicality. So when I'm buzzing and overly stimulated in either direction, the potential for crashing is high, right? Especially as a neurodivergent person. When I can stay even and steady, I have more wiggle room, which is why I talk about becoming reasonably content. The power is in reasonably content, because you can go in any direction. You go too high, there's only crashing. You go too low, it's hard to pull yourself up. So you need a scaffolding. All right. And you need to stop judging yourself. We're human. None of us has this together. Nobody has their act together. Not one person on this planet is lily white perfection. We are humans. It's not an excuse to be an asshole either. We are humans. We are spiritual beings having a human experience, as Dr. Wayne Dyer used to say. We are spiritualizing matter. We are spirit-made matter. Do you know where the word spirit comes from? The Latin esprit. Spirit. When you talk about spirit, it is the breath. In all, if we want to believe in ancient texts, which is really funny, all the people who want to make a rule about what women do in their reproductive and health choices, they all want to use this Bible thing. Except they always forget Genesis. Genesis, the beginning. Their creator breathed life into things. Life starts with the first breath. It must be viable. It could be assisted breath because sure as if you want to believe in that text, there was assisted breath from the beginning. So if you're worried about your preemies, no. The minute they got oxygen in, that's when life begins. Oh, she's on one. Oh, okay. I just want you to know that my daughter's going to make me look really cute because, I get my makeup on. I think it's looking pretty good, and I have my lighting set to make sure I look better. But my daughter always makes me look pretty, and I'm very blind, and I can't put my makeup on like fancy anymore, so I'm very excited. Although I do prefer a natural look, more natural. I can do wild looks, but I just can't see to do it. So it'll be really nice to have her style me and make me all pretty. Resistance. Resistance. Let's talk about resistance. Because in fact, speaking of my daughter, we were talking about something, and it's a topic I tend to have a reaction to. It's a topic I tend to have a reaction to. And it comes from old stuff. Some of it, like family patterns. Like, we don't know where it started. And, like, it goes back a long way. And for the very first time, because normally I'll just have a reaction to it, and I will stop my reaction and say, hey, I know you want to talk about this. I'm going to try my best, but there's just, I just, it, it's not you. It's literally in me. And she's like, I know, get over it. I'm like, shut up. Um, but I ended up feeling literally in my frontal lobe, and then it traveled. It was like a worm. It was like an inclusion in a gem. Like it was an impurity. Um, like if you're looking at a diamond or something, there was a flaw there, but it was more like a computer virus. It had to do with programming, and I felt like it hurt in my frontal lobe, and then it kind of trailed up through my brain, and I went, whoa, 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 whoa! I've never felt this before. I'm becoming conscious of it. It's not just a reaction. I think I found the pattern. And she's like, okay, I still want to talk about this stuff. I'm like, can you give me 2 seconds so I can feel into it and adjust? Because, and don't try this at home, folks, because I am very well trained in doing these things. I've been doing them since 1999, where you feel into the discomfort. You intensify it. If it's pain, you intensify it. Without story, without judgment, you feel it for release. Because the more you intensify it and then accept it as is. No story. And this is the part where everybody gets stuck. Everybody wants the fucking story. I hurt this bad because. No. Just I hurt. I hurt. I hurt. Because you'll feel it in the body, wherever. I hurt, I have discomfort, there's a numbness, there's something, there will be a physical sensation. And please don't try this at home if you've never done it, okay? Please don't, because it can be a lot. I had a lot of training and guidance, but what you do, you feel into things and then you accept them. It's radical acceptance. I had that happen in a therapy session about a month into working with my therapist, who, if you're listening, I love you. And I hit a big owie where my whole chest constricted. And I took a breath and I told my therapist, I said, I know it's not a heart attack, but if I don't take care of it, it could become one. And I said, I need a second. Let me just move this through. And I took a deep breath and I did the process. And while I was doing it, and I'm breathing and I'm moving the energy through and I feel things lightening. And how do I know the difference? I do, because I've had training. Please don't do it at home. She said, oh my God, this is radical acceptance in action. And I took a breath and I said, yes, it is. I trained with some very, very, very good teachers and experts. And a lot of people would start the training and go and run the other way because it is unpleasant. Because in looking at the resistance to life, whether it's the resistance to looking at our own rejection, our grief, our loss, our abandonment, whatever feeling it is, we can resist joy. When we cry because we're happy, is because we're resisting the joy because we're being so filled. And we haven't widened our channels of reception. And sometimes love can make and I'm talking about real love. I'm not talking about, oh, I want to bang you. That's not love. That's chemistry. But real love, being accepted, having somebody look you in the eyes and say, I love you. It's huge. And sometimes it's a little bit much to receive. We can hold ourselves without judgment. We can learn to stop telling the stories that either reinforce the wound or the resistance. There are things we naturally resist. Breakups are hard. You feel rejected or you feel oppressed. Nobody wants to sit and go, oh, yay, I had a breakup. Now, getting to the point where you make the decision to leave can be hard if you're not happy. I remember years ago when I was leaving my second marriage where I had not been happy, mostly from the beginning. I also didn't have very good boundaries from the beginning. And I didn't really know how to say no and hold it. I didn't know. And that's nobody else's fault. I had to build those skills. But a lot of what held me back was, what will these people think of me? They're going to think I'm an asshole. They're going to think I'm greedy. They're going to think I'm ungrateful. They're going to think I'm a bad woman. I've already been divorced. This is a twice divorced woman. What does that make me? What kind of whore? When instead, what I had done is, one, I wasn't safe the first time, so I left to keep my children safe. The second time, it was because I wanted to live wholly as myself, and that looked selfish. You're damn right. It was. I was not willing to sacrifice myself on the altar of society's expectations. And it was a hard decision to make, especially for a Libra moon. And I lost a lot of friends and extended family because of it. And at the time, it was very difficult. Now, I couldn't be happier that I did it. But there was big resistance to leaving. Like, my arms would burn. It was all the old social programs and hundreds upon hundreds of years of, no, you need to be a good woman. You need to stay. It's okay if you die. You've been a good woman. You'll go to heaven. Wow. I wasn't willing to die on the altar of society's expectations. What a horrible human being. That resistance is the discomfort, the tension patterns, etc., and we can breathe into them without story and allow them to release. It does take time and practice. Of course, we're going to grieve and resist the death of a loved one because we love them. There's no judgment on grief. But there's no judgment on anger either. There's no judgment on feeling rejected. There's no judgment on not feeling up to the task. There's no judgment on any of the emotions we have. It is the judgment that is the resistance and produces the greatest reaction. It is the story where there is judgment, because judgment isn't condemnation. Judgment moralizes, but it is not condemnation. When we condemn ourselves with shame, blame, and guilt, that is also resentment, and we can release these out of the body. But one of the reasons people intellectualize, you'll learn all the knowledge. I could teach you everything. I could verbally tell you everything. And you still wouldn't be able to practice it because you don't put it into action because we've been taught to have knowledge. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is not power unless you know what to do with it. There are a lot of people who've gone to Ivy League schools who are unemployed, and that is because they didn't know how to operate in the system. They weren't good at making decisions for themselves, judgment calls. They didn't know how to make networks. They have a head full of facts and no ability to apply them. Knowledge is not power unless you know what to do with it. I can't count when I when I was being charitable, and I charged a lot less for readings on a TikTok special. And it's so funny because the people who didn't know me before TikTok were like, well, you got famous on TikTok and then you raised your prices. No. I got famous on TikTok, lowered my prices to be of service during a global pandemic. And then I brought them back up to where they belonged and had been. Mama ain't cheap, nor should I be. Because when I had them very low priced, trying to help as many young people, especially as I could, people who, maybe worked in food service and couldn't work at their jobs or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? Because I'm a mom. And my kids were in that age group. And I thought, I want to be able to help these babies. And I got a lot of clients. Oh, I know about my chart. I've read this book. I know about my chart. And they were absolutely unreceptive to hearing how to use their chart. And I had this saying that I would say as I'm dealing on, well, I know astrology. I've been into it. I read this book when I was like 10. That is like a 14-year-old telling you you're immature and they are mature. Especially when you're dealing with somebody who's a master at what they do. I would be like, really? I didn't always correct people. I'd be like, wow, you're really committed to that. I'm just going to let you sit there. Go on if you won't be receptive. I'm not asking you to agree with everything I have to say, but if you know everything, why are you here? Well, I know all my placements. That's great. I'm glad you do. But do you know how to synthesize it? And then I'll watch people write about their placements. I'll be like, maybe you don't know because you haven't dedicated your life to a subject. I don't know everything there is to know about eyeballs, even though I've been going to optometrists and ophthalmologists my whole life. I know enough to explain what's wrong with me and make sure the doctor can deal with me. And then I'm open to new information. Because guess what? I have not dedicated my life to being an ophthalmologist or an optometrist. When it comes to fashion, I know what I like. But I do not design clothes. I would not presume to tell someone who is a master cutter how to cut the fabric. Same goes for astrology. And you do it in anything. Oh, I know all about that. When I teach business, I know all about marketing. Really. Why are your numbers so low? Oh, I know what to do. Okay, why aren't you doing it? And I am not judging or blaming, but I am saying that's what's in the way. Knowledge is not power unless you know what to do with it. You can study all day long and gain more and more and more facts until your head is this big. But if you do not know how to apply it, it does nothing for your life. It's just random facts and you're great at a cocktail party or you're good at Jeopardy. But knowledge is not power unless you know what to do with it. What advice, wisdom, message would you share with every single person in the whole world if you could communicate to them and they receive the message as intended? You are precious. You are precious. Every single one of you. And your life will change immensely the more you begin to understand how very precious you are in the whole scheme of the universe. That's what I'm going to say. That and knowledge isn't power unless you know how to use it. Um, Andy is asking, not particular a question, but I'd love to know more about your experiences with spirit or how you connect to your guides when you need hope or leaning onto faith. Okay. So I was born weird, Andy. I was seeing stuff as a kid. By the way, I've been tested. I have 0 clinical markers. Um, Even when I was like 3 years old, I would beg my mom to take me to the Portland Japanese Gardens, and she would take me, and I would bolt. Like, I was usually a very cautious child. Like, I would hold on to my mom. I was afraid of getting into trouble. Like, my mom never yelled. It's just I was really obedient. But I would bolt the minute we got there, and I would run as fast as I could to get to the Zen garden, and that's where the monks would come. And I would run as fast as I could, and I would wait. I wouldn't let my mom take me until they showed up. Except like there would be signs or something saying when they wouldn't be there, but they mostly showed up every time we were there. At least in my memory, because I was 3. Okay, I have a Cancer Mercury. I can remember a lot. However, I'm not gonna remember everything from when I was 3. I mean, like that's 53 years ago. But what I do have a very clear visual of is sitting in meditation in the lotus position and being very, very connected. Like I have always had a sense of connection. And when the monks would come by, I would be like, brothers, hello, brothers. And they would be like, like we're not shouting now, but I would be just joy filled. And I could still feel that burst from the heart. So I must have been a monk in a monastery at some time, at least once. I've always been connected, but I have also been disconnected through pain, rage, anger, and fear. Um, Usually not for a ton of time, but there were times I was very, very angry in my teens, which is normal. Um, but I wouldn't be alive if I didn't have a sense of hope. I always believed life could get better because, and honestly, my guidance explained to me that one of the reasons I have obvious ability and obvious to me connection was to help keep me in mostly one piece as I went through resistance to my presence on this planet to be of service. Gravity is heavy. And there are conflicting agendas that might be resistant. Sometimes we have to deal with other people's resistance, right? And this was to keep me where I could navigate and hope. So I was blessed with a natural ability to connect and to have faith. Now, did I always understand stuff? So as I got older and didn't want to be a weirdo, because I didn't. Like, I don't want people to know I do this stuff. This is weird. And people are going to think I'm a witch. They're going to think I'm a weirdo. They're going to want, I still kind of feel that way. Um, I didn't have names for what I did. So I just did stuff, whether it was energy work, healing work. Um, I didn't have names for the things I could see or do. And so I got training later, and they showed up. Like my guidance as always, and this is when I say I'm a world server. Doesn't make me better than anybody else, but my soul's intent is to be of service in this lifetime, in this body. And some of that service was learning through experience how to manage through resistance, how to manage through the resistance to my presence on the planet, how to manage through resisting my own presence on the planet. There was a lot of time I didn't want to be here. I was like, what do I need to do to fulfill this so I can leave? Because I'm done. It hurt. I don't share the whole of my story, not because I am ashamed, but because it is so extreme that I do not wish to add to those who have yet to heal's experience. It is enough to know there are people who would be very shocked to see where I am today. Not because of things I did to me, but because of what had been done to me. I bend and I do not break. Learning how to cease that narrative being the main part of my story. So I focus on service and I focus on teaching and I focus on empowering you. And I'm sure I piss people off. I'm okay with that. I no longer fear as long as I can be of service. I'm okay with being a weirdo. But yeah, so how do I connect? One of those is I can take in a deep breath. The breath is important, and I just take anymore. I just take one sharp breath, and we're there. So I have a mantra that I use. I have a mantra. It's very quick. I talk to my guides all the time. It's hard, Andy, when you're younger because the hormones are going off. Your amygdala is still very active. And as we both know, your Saturn return and mine happen at the same time. We will be Saturn return buddies. Um, you're just in that last walk before that. And that's honestly, I was just as dramatic when I was young. And I was very angry and I was very sad and I was very hurt. And I didn't have the mentors just yet. The mentors started coming, I don't know, maybe when I was 25, but I thought a lot of them were full of bullshit. So that's why I don't ever expect the young people to be totally into this. They're like, she's full of shit. She doesn't get it. This is what my life has been like. It was different for you. I'm like, oh, yeah, I never said that when I was young. Not at all. And it was different. There were different circumstances. You're right. We are where we are now. But it doesn't mean there isn't process and technique that can help you move through even the most difficult of times. So, Andy, I say you have a lot of belief. I don't think you don't. I think you know you're connected to your guides. I think for you, maybe doing a ritual would be good. I think everybody has a way to tune in. You know, when I was younger, if I lit a candle and I watched it burn, that would help me with I had a lot of rage, justifiably. And burning candles helped me do that. I was not a pyro. In fact, I was afraid of burning my house down, so there was always a lot of safety. That helped. Um, I never wanted to do any kind of erasure of my memory. I know there was a lot of that. Like my friend's mom was a therapist back when I was like 29, and she told me to try this technique. It erases the trauma from your mind. And I was like, I don't know. Do I really want to erase it? Well, you don't want to remember it. I'm like, There's a lot of things I don't want to remember, but I do. I can remember good stuff too. But I was like, but isn't that denial? Isn't that not acknowledging that experience is part of my walk? And can't I heal from the traumatic parts of that while understanding it is still part of my walk? No, I don't want the triggers. No, I don't want the cortisol spikes. No, I don't want these other things. But if I erase it, isn't that, I don't see that as having been healed. I don't think, and this is me personally, guys, I'm not judging you if you believe differently, but to me, it wasn't really healing unless I could look it straight in the face and I wasn't triggered anymore. That took a very long time. So I'm not telling you to do it now. Don't jump in with both feet. A lot of times people do so with enthusiasm and jump in with both feet. And that is that high to low rubber ball of consciousness that I talked about. That is stress. It's better to go chunk chunk. Oops, I keep hitting my mic. Chunk chunk, chunk chunk, chunk chunk, chunk chunk. Step by step by step. And in the healing the money wound work, believe it or not, it's a framework far beyond money. Far beyond money. It is about creating stability in the system. So you create stability, you integrate, you go to the next step. Stability, integrate, go to the next step. That's how you learn language. That is how you learn math. That is how you learn to function in a job. That is how you master any subject. And that is how you master yourself. So it's coming, is my answer. All right, I went all over the place with that. Man, this segment's almost an hour. I hope you really enjoy this because it was actually really fun to do. There's going to be more fun content coming out. It's going to be a while before you see this set again. Because I'm going to be eating stinky cheese. I will still be active all over the place. I know I've been quiet in the test lab, guys. I'm really, really sorry. But good stuff is coming, so hold tight. You guys want to check out the show notes. You'll see the links to the different events. Make sure you sign up for Charts and Channeling with Matilda and I. We are the Sassy Seers, and we are hilarious if we do say so ourselves, and we do often. But it's $50. We tried to keep it in reach so that as many people as possible. There's still tickets left. You can access those through the link in the show notes. And just if you're a patron, God bless you. If you're if you're a free patron and you've been thinking about joining as a supporting member, hold tight. I've got discounts coming for you for all people signing up with a new membership. I'm Lori Rivers, and I'll see you from across the pond next week.